The Yakuza live-action Amazon series is the final nail in the coffin before the burial of one of the greatest video game franchises ever created. This is a dramatic and bold claim, but if you know what to look for, this is really the only conclusion you can come to. But before we get into it, will you leave a like on this video? You don't have to now, I know we just met, but think about it. Just so we're clear, I have played every mainline Yakuza title, including Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, as well as Like a Dragon Ishin and the Judgment series.
木村さんの時間がやってまいりました。これは超おすすめです。
With probably around 1,000 hours of playtime altogether, give or take. So I do have a reason to be skeptical about a show that wants to take place at the very beginning of the series, depending on how you want to think about it. As you can see from this Variety article on the announcement, the show is set to take place between in 1995 and 2005. If you're familiar with the series, you would know that this is Yakuza 1 as well as Yakuza 0. Obviously Yakuza 0 comes before Yakuza 1 chronologically, but Yakuza 0 was released as a reboot to the series after it had started to kind of fall off, making the potential for canon-breaking mistakes sky high as things get set up for the show that we don't get reflected in what we already know to be true about the game. I was pleased to hear that the show does have a Japanese production, and the conceptualization of the show seems to have taken place before Amazon's involvement. This is why today I want to talk less about what the show is and more about what the show and shows like it mean for the future of gaming. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not good. Fallout 76 was released November 14th, 2018, and by the end of the year was reported to have sold 1.4 million digital copies and go on to have 11 million active players by the end of the year 2023. If you're still watching, you probably are familiar with the horrible rollout and launch of the game, and despite all this, once the Fallout live-action series dropped in 2024, Fallout 76 grew to have its highest number of concurrent players and had seen increased sales in the time leading up to the show's release. The show and the game being made free on PlayStation Plus, I'm sure was definitely a factor to the numbers boost. And I was one of those players who took advantage of Fallout 76 being free on PlayStation Plus. I wasn't going to pay for it, of course, but enough time had passed that I'd kind of forgotten about the horrible rollout and figured how bad could it really be. I played for about 3 hours before I quit to go back to playing Control. Why? I hate live service games. That's really it. But the industry continues to make live service game after live service game after live service game. And even when they don't make live service games, year after year, they continue to build in more and more live service mechanics and seemingly unnecessary DLC packs into their game, tentatively dipping their toes in the water before taking the plunge. I call Fallout 76's approach to release the live service poison pill. Because we knew the game was live service before it launched, we kind of knew what to expect, and we didn't realize necessarily how bad it could be just because it was a live service game. But since then, I think all of us are pretty well trained to know that live service is synonymous with disappointment or cash grab, or disappointing cash grab. So, what do you do if you spent the last few years preparing your globally beloved franchise to finally take a dive into the live service pool? How do you get your audience to take the poison they already know is poison? Which brings us back to Yakuza, or what I'm gonna call the live action gateway drug. I believe we are getting a live service Yakuza RGG game within the next 3 releases. The purpose of this show is to get people up to speed on the origins of the series so that they can jump right into the live service game, maybe only starting with Like a Dragon 7 instead of going back to Kiwami 1 like I did. To me, this show spells death for the franchise. If it all seems a little cracked, keep in mind that Yakuza has come a very long way and has played its hand masterfully through the years. Aside from the gameplay changes that they've gone through, they do have a history of releasing film or TV one-offs in preparation for new major releases. This is the same series where we barely start the 5th game and we're hunting in the snow after breaking out of prison, something that we've never done before in the series and will never do again once you leave, unless you go back, but by that point we're in a bit of a rush. I spent 6 hours here, at least. Anyway, Like a Dragon is going live service within the next 3 games, or the next mainline Yakuza Like a Dragon title will be live service. I don't think they're going to blow their load on Judgment 3. Because they can take advantage of the years of maps, secret locations, and one-off set pieces, they can create natural divisions between live service content and single-player story-focused locations. The main story can take place in Hawaii, but requires travel back and forth that may require you to interact with live service content to grind to gain that access, just like an Infinite Wealth. They can use the Sujimon battles to have a PvP mechanic that can drive an in-game store and could be revolutionary to just actually say how much this stuff costs, because they use actual yen and dollars. Not to mention the cosmetics that already exist that could drive the store for years to come. The games already work on a yearly seasonal content model. That's a bit of a reach because I know that they're not yearly releases, but each game takes place roughly within the year of the last game. That's why we're always starting out at a funeral or a gravesite, remembering the people that we lost from the last game. It's not hard to imagine where the already consistent structure that we're used to can be incorporated into a live service structure with the season pass, thus paywalling the main story. The story wouldn't necessarily have to take a sacrifice to accommodate the grind because of all of the potential sub-stories that are already baked into how the game works, and the fact that it exists in a world where you do have to get on a plane, where money does matter, so there are in-game ways to block you off from accessing things in a way that we're already used to and in a way that feels natural, that maybe there's some extra grind there that we have to do that we wouldn't have had to do before, but it's probably not something that we wouldn't have already done just in playing the game normally. If I can spend 2 weeks in Yakuza 2 learning Mahjong because I misunderstood how the lucky tile worked and I was too stubborn to just, I don't know, reload a save, I'm sure that they can figure out a way to keep me online without wasting my time. I can do that myself. Thank you very much. And when I say they, I do mean RGG. I've made it a point not to bring up RGG in this video until now, because for whatever beef I have with the live service model, I have faith in them. I don't have a problem with live service games inherently. I think the live service games that we have received have been bad. I think the people working at RGG have a deep love for the series, its offshoots, and the world that they've built, and that if any franchise or intellectual property was suited to be live service, it's the Like a Dragon Yakuza series. And if any studio cared about their product enough to do it right, I think it's them. Just because we've had bad luck with live service games doesn't mean we should give up. All the bad luck in the world shouldn't make our dreams any less worth chasing. RGG was able to do a 100% overhaul on the mechanics and style of the game that they built their name with and create something completely new and engaging. And then rework the old mechanics into a new series that's arguably just as good, if not better. Crazy. That shows a level of dedication. Like a Dragon got me back into playing turn-based games, something that I just had lost interest in as time went on, and now I just keep a couple in rotation to play when I want something less, in your face. At the end of the day, only time will tell, and I'm just a guy on the internet. Oh, and before I go, remember when I asked you to like earlier? Well, it's time. Yeah!